Hi and welcome to this video in the MRDCL Fundamental series, in which we're looking at titles that you want to apply to variables or tables, or a group of variables or a group of tables, and how they all fit together. So we've got a fairly simple project here, and I'm going to open that project and show you some of the things that you can do. So the first thing to note is that we've got a variable called gender, x equals male, female. And you can see there's a title, VT, and VT means apply this title to this variable when it's tabulated vertically. In other words, when it's the rows of the table. And you can see we've got a different title, a horizontal title, when it's tabulated horizontally. In other words, it's part of the columns of the table. So you can apply a different title for when it's used, or the variable's used as the rows of a table, and when it's used as the columns of a table. Whereas when we come down to this variable here, age, we've got an xt, which means that regardless of whether it's tabulated vertically or horizontally, I want the same title to appear on my tables. Now let's move down. We've got a fairly standard variable here. Now let's look at some of the other things that you can do, and also look at the hierarchy of what happens when you re-specify or use labels in more than one way. So we have a global BT hash here. So this is another title that you can have on your tables. So this is a global base title. So what that's going to do, the word all respondents will appear as the base title for every table. That is until I turn it off. So when you set a global BT hash, it will apply that. Hash means table, dollar would mean variable. So a global BT dollar would apply a base title to every variable if I had it in my data stage, or perhaps a bit earlier on in this script here. But I've got a BT hash, a global BT hash, so that's going to apply that base title to tables 1 and 2, but then I unset it so it won't apply to tables 3 and 4 down here. Let's look what else I've got. Well, here I've got $age equal age group. So even though the title for age up here was just the word age, I'm now replacing it by saying $age is age group. So that's going to replace that word age with age group. So I'm referencing that by saying I want to re-specify the title regardless of whether it's vertical or horizontally with an $, meaning the variable age, to age group. Now we see another type of titling that you can have at the top of your tables. This is an IT. So this will appear on every table, but it's an extra, if you like, an extra bit of titling that you can have besides the title that applies to the variable or the table and the base title. So this is a sort of third option you can have putting a title on. And you can see here, this is a global IT hash. So that's going to apply to every table after table 1. And it's going to say important tables. And of course, again, there we've got the hash sign, which means that it's applying to tables and not variables. If we put a dollar, nothing would happen because there aren't any variables specified after that. Moving down a bit further, now you can see we've got after table 4, we've got VT equals this table has a different title. Now, I didn't say this, but implied is what happens with any title or indeed any labels, all the things I'm talking about here actually equally apply to response labels. If it's defined, if xt equals age is defined, i.e. no reference to a variable or a table, it's assumed it applies to the last variable or last table that you were referring to. So here, because it's in the table stage and it's after a table, even though the title for rating here is rating of product, it's going to get replaced, the vertical title, by this table has a different title. And finally down here we see that it says here VT hash 3 equals title for table 3. So although this table again has rating as the rows and gender as the columns, so you'd expect it to pick up rating of product by whatever age says, age, except we of course know that gender here by gender, or respondent gender. It's going to get left as that for the horizontal columns, but of course it will be replaced with a vertical title. So what happens on a table? It's pulling in a title for the rows and the columns of your table, and you have this additional IT title here that you can use. Now you can turn these off. There's a format option called MPHT, which will hide the title applying to the horizontal title, and there's one for vertical as well for NPVT, which will do the same thing to hide the vertical title, so that's less common. So let's run this now and have a look at what we've got as our output, and we can see that the first table is gender by age group because we changed the title of age to age group. We've got that global base title there of all respondents. Then from table 2 we get that extra piece of text that comes out as the first bit of titling, if you like, and says important tables. And you can see here we get respondent gender as the title for the columns on the table, whereas here we just got the word gender because we had a separate piece of titling for when genders tabulated vertically and horizontally. Come down to table 3, so now we've got title for table 3 which replaced the default title for table 3, and table 4 we set that as well locally with this table has a different title. So that explains sort of some of the ways you can do it. We're now going to quickly put in MPHT. And so if I put in F equals not print horizontal title and run it again, you can see now that the text is reduced, so you just get a title and the base. In this case you get that additional title, the IT, but the horizontal title has now disappeared, and that's something that people quite commonly use when processing their tables. Well, I hope this video has been useful to you. Thank you for joining.